Oyamba the First of Calabar was a very powerful king. He fought and conquered all the surrounding countries, killing all the old men and women. But for the body-abled men and girls, he caught and brought back as slaves, and they worked on the farms until they died. This king had 200 wives, but none of them had borne him a son. His subjects, seeing that he was becoming an old man, begged him to marry one of Anansi, the spider's daughters, as they always had plenty of children. But when the king saw the spider's daughter, he did not like her, as she was ugly. And the people said it was because her mother had so many children at the time. However, in order to please his people, he married the ugly girl and placed her among his wives. But they all complained because she was so ugly and said they could not live with her. The king therefore built her a separate house for herself, where she was given food and drink, the same as the other wives. Everyone jeered at her on account of her ugliness, but she was not really ugly, but beautiful, as she was born with 2 skins, and at her birth, her mother was made to promise that she should never remove the ugly skin until a certain time arrived, only during the night, and she must put it on again before dawn. Now, the king's head wife knew this and was very fearful lest the king should find out and fall in love with Anansi the spider's daughter. So she went to a juju man and offered him 200 rods to make a potion that will make the king forget altogether that the spider's daughter was his wife. This the juju man finally consented to do, after much haggling over the price, for 350 rods, and he made up some medicine which the head wife mixed with the king's food. For some months, this had the effect of making the king forget the spider's daughter, and he used to pass quite close to her without recognizing her in any way. When 4 months had passed, and the king had not one cent for Anansiwa, she began to get tired and went back to her parents. Her father, the spider Anansi, then took her to another juju man, who by making spells and casting lots, very soon discovered that it was the king's head wife who had made the juju and had enchanted the king so that he would not look at Anansiwa. He therefore told the spider that Anansiwa should give the king some of the medicine he would prepare, which would make the king remember her. He prepared the medicine, for which Spider had to pay a large sum of money, and that very day, Anansiwa made a small dish of food, into which he had placed the medicine and presented it to the king. When he ate the dish, his eyes were opened and he recognized his wife, and he told her to come to him that very evening. So in the afternoon, being very joyful, she went down to the river and washed, and when she returned, she put on her best cloth and went to the king's palace. Directly, it was dark and all lights were off. She pulled off her ugly skin, and the king saw how beautiful she was and was very pleased with her. But when the cock crowed, Anansiwa pulled on her ugly skin again and went back to her own house. She did this for 4 nights running, always taking the ugly skin off in the dark and leaving before daylight in the morning. In the course of time, to the great surprise of all the people, and particularly of the king's 200 wives, she gave birth to a son. But what surprised them the most was that only one son was born, whereas her mother had always had a great number of children at a time, generally about 50. This is getting interesting. I'm curious to know what happens next. Can you guess? Please subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.